Welcome to Play With It, Cass Allen. Hope you all doing okay out there. This week we're going to be talking about same topic, the dating pool. In particular, our subtopic is going to be ah, guess. Can you guess? Of course, you'll never guess. Subtopic today is personalities. I'm going to be talking about personalities all week, actually. Different types that you run into during dating. Some of them are easy to spot, and basically, it's up to us to decide whether or not you want to deal with people. You have an idea of pretty much early on in the game, a lot of times what you're dealing with. If you have someone that's talkative and expressive, you can get a general idea of a personality type. In particular, and this week we're talking about Me Too. We're talking about aggressive and passive people, the combo, passive aggressive. We're talking about micromanagers. We're talking about the ideal mate as well. And we're also talking about people who are into that all about me stage. In particular, today, we're going to get into the all about me stage. Talk about the definition of it. Y'all know I like to define my subject for the day so that we're all on the same page. Talk about people who are of that ilk, and we'll talk about people who date people of that personality. Into it again, we're talking today about the all about me's. I've chosen not to use the psychological terms to avoid the debates over, the different ways that I find people define these terms are so off. And many people use the same term in different ways, and I really don't want to get into that type of wasteful discussion, which is why I've chosen to simplify things with terms like all about me. Some people like to call that a narcissist. I don't want to go into again the psychological profiles. I'm not here for that. I'm here to let my hair down, have some fun, talk some shit, and point out some things, some that just don't make any damn sense to me half the time. Some are just for fun, like I always say. And to get us to get a little more comfortable talking about things, that people want to mumble under their breath or, they wait till said party leaves the room to discuss the subject. So like I said, I'm feeling that gap out there of, being expressive in an inquisitive way, in a introspective way, in a lighthearted way, but with some real shit. I think it's okay to approach these subjects. We need to do it more. So many people are walking around here with all this shit in their heads, fumbling with the football that could be running the yardage a little better if they would just be a little bit more expressive and get comfortable saying what you feel while you're going through the dating process. And also, being able to be comfortable, it's not only expressing your boundaries, but noting them when someone is crossing a line, like right in the middle of said event. So again, as we continue with the dating pool topic, because it's fun, we're talking about the all about me's. By all about me, I refer to the type of personality that does just that. I'm here for me. The rest of you are incidental. You're a part of my good time, then you're in my picture. You will never be the star. I may feature you, at some points, but everything has to roll up to me, just like in a sitcom or any type of series on TV. It doesn't have to be a sitcom. You got your star, that's you. That's the all about me. And the rest of you are my supporting cast. Keyword supporting. You have to add to my essence. And that gets tricky because we're all here to, to make sure our cores, our inners, this ABC from here all the way down to the toes is basically taken care of, you know. But I guess I can refer to that give and take, you know, that all about me has very little give and a whole lot of take. I take every opportunity that I basically can to lift my pedestal up higher. That's what I consider to be the all about me's, you know. Um, if it's not supporting my opportunity, it's not happening to get us all on the same page here. So to speak on dating one, um, before we even go there, I'll say that I personally feel something I wrote many, many years ago. Maybe I was 16 years old. We are all rainbows. Every color is true. Pick any color and I'll show it to you. Because I believe, you know, some people I've encountered have put on a projection, if you will, as if though they don't have emotion. You know, I believe that, you know, there's a time and place for emotion, but we all have it, you know. The nicest people in the world are capable of killing people, you know. The most cold calculated killer in the world may just want to crawl up and be loved. You know, it's all in there. It's about how we balance stuff, you know. And we have in this case, these personalities that I'm speaking of are what some would consider to be imbalanced, but you know, I'm gonna withhold my opinion because I think, like I said, we all here to think. Speaking on the all about me's and dating one, you have to be able to date someone who you want to give a lot to. Yourself is it may you may not be secondary, you may not be third on the list, fourth, or even fifth. Um, to date all about me is to experience a life where your needs basically don't matter. It doesn't mean that this person doesn't give a fuck about you. It means that this person gives a fuck about him, her, themselves more than you. There's a possibility that you may be second. You know, you have to decide if you're willing to be in a pecking order in a relationship and where do you like to be ranked. Some people don't mind being second. You know, there are situations where you don't even have the time to be first in somebody's life. You don't want to be first. So that's why I say, you know, this gets interesting. We tend to talk about all things like they're a bad thing, but I think it's more about compatibility. And compatibility can come in so many different ways, you know. Some people don't mind being second, third, seventh. It may depend. I may be okay with you running the world from your angle as long as I'm getting everything that I want. You know, you may be a person who's all about me, but in your all about me, there's a me, you know. All of the things that you're inspired to be, I may be a part of your story, you know. So you should take the time to assess really what an all about me means. All about me may mean that I make sure I get my hair done, my nails done, my everything done. I go to the spa. I make sure I have a nice car, a nice home. Everything's all about my essence. And in that, there's room for you. You know, it can look different. I think it's something to discuss. Um, the woman who I'm dating recently discussed um on a show that she's starring in, Blood Runs Deep, as I've plugged before, you know, about how she would feel about having a mate that complements her lifestyle. You know, the character that she plays put it straightforward that I need someone in my life that when I'm not busy has time for me. Now, although her character is very involved and loving and community and family and all that, there's still that all about me essence, as an example of how it can look different. She wants to date someone who is available for her and doesn't have as hectic a schedule as she does, so that that person can be available. Now, for another person, that might look different. There may be somebody out there who says, "Oh, well, I am just as busy as her, but I can be available for her because I can work from wherever she's working from, or I can stop my stuff at the drop of a dime." So, the dating pool, it gets funny, I think it's based on the questions that we ask. And in this particular case, just asking that one surface question, opportunities might be lost, as I just mentioned by example. Dating and all about me can also be a very poor experience if you're dating someone who doesn't give a fuck about you except for what they're gaining from you to support themselves. May it be conversation, something physical, intimate, spiritual, whatever, you know. A lot of times, and all about me doesn't return a lot. So you may be in a situation where an all about me is feeding on you for love and support. But when you face situations in your life, that all about me may not be available to provide that same type of love and support that you provide, because said party is out there feeding on the energy of others to, you know, hold that all about me position. So, and like I said, that's why I choose not to discuss this as a right or wrong thing. It's about what works for you. Some people are happy in a situation like that, excuse me, with a mate who's out there all the time, you know. They're comfortable. Some people love to nurture endlessly. Like they have OCD when it comes to nurturing. So, and all about me might be an ideal mate for that party. I think, like everything I discuss on the show, it's important to have transparency and be open about who you are and what you want, Hey, it's nice to meet you. You end up on a date. Shit, you sitting down. So tell me something about yourself. Tell me some things that define you. There's your opportunity right there. It's open. Well, and as the conversation ensues, um, I like to have a type of mate who supports me at an unusual level. I need a mate who feeds my ego a little more than is expected. For example, and tell them what you need. There's nothing wrong with being honest. I need a mate who keeps a low profile. I need a mate who, when I'm tired, is don't mind being there for me. I give all my good stuff to the world, and when I come home, I need you. Just be honest. Tell them what you need. I need you to pamper me 24/7. I need you to help me, hire a team to keep me pampered. I need you to make sure I'm happy all the time. Well, fuck, are you hearing anything about yourself? And that might be okay for you. You might be that person. Shit, you might be the all about meist, as we'll call you right now. You may be that person. I understand your role as well. We're talking, I try to talk from both angles. Shit. We're talking about dating one. Well, you're the one being dated. Well, are you aware that you are that type of person? Are you aware that you're not stretching beyond a certain orbit and reaching out to connect with the person you're dating? Are you aware that you're not asking questions about this person? Are you aware that everything you're talking about is about your fucking self? Are you aware? Some people are just so happy talking about themselves and showing the world who the fuck they are that they forget to take a breath and see what's going on. You know, maybe the person that you're talking to and shooting all this shit at wants to shoot some shit back at you. But you're so busy trying to be the center of attention. You're so busy letting the world know your command post. You're so busy trying to show everybody you the fucking man or you the fucking woman or you the fucking they, whoever you want to be, that you sometimes lose sight of paying attention and being aware and perhaps having some healthier relationships with these people that you're trying to date or even get to date. Some of you forget to ask those important questions. I'd like to get to know a little bit about you. I've been around people I've known for years that don't know shit about me, not a fucking thing. And I'm okay with it, but I understand the position of these people in my life. Just like they, I would hope, understand mine. You know, some of them have been prospects at some point in my life. You know, there are people in your life you're just not supposed to know. Let me remind you of that. There are people in your life that you don't have to date. You don't have to connect with. You don't have to, if somebody smiles at you, you don't have to, and they give you a lewd or lusty smile, you don't have to match it back. Unless you're feeling that shit. You know, it's okay to say, oh, okay, I'm on this date with this person, and this person is one of these people, one of these, it's all about me, and that's not my type of person. It's okay to pull the conversation down a little. It's okay to end the date early. And guess what? The person, you, the all about me is you gotta be okay with receiving what people give you based on who you are. I tell y'all that as well. You know, you gotta be okay with people not liking who you are. You have to be okay with people saying, I don't want to fuck with you without you getting an attitude. You gotta be okay with somebody saying, I don't like the way you treat me. Cause you don't, I don't like that you don't pay me any fucking attention. All you talk about is yourself. You gotta be okay with hearing that shit if it's true. You know, because a lot of people really don't want to hear you talk about yourself all day. They don't want to hear you try to teach them all fucking day. They don't want to hear about what you got all fucking day. They don't want to hear about what you're going to do all fucking day. People want to engage. They want to be a part of life. And being a part of life is about being a part of conversation. It's about communion. Nobody wants to sit and watch some fucking body act like they're the superstar, the king, the queen, and the sovereign one of life. I personally, the people that I find don't care for me are the people who like to sermonize, the people who are excessive with their language, the people who think they have certain positions in life where they are centers of attention. We normally don't get along. And that's a very low key assessment for you. You know, I prefer the company of people who care about people. It's just that simple. You know, I have a difficult time being around people who only talk about themselves all the time. And I will wander away from you quickly. And more than likely, we won't get to know each other. If I encounter you 2 or 3 times and this is you, I'm pretty much, which is why I say, you know, if you have those type of personalities, you have to be okay with people not wanting to fuck with you because it's not exactly an endearing quality to make everything all about you. You know, everything that comes out of your mouth is what you like, what you don't like. Nobody gives a fuck because we all are out here trying to live. We are all out here seeking things. We are looking for alignments. We are not looking to be dominated by a motherfucker who's walking around like Julius Caesar or Miss Cleopatra or they the ruler. You know, no one's looking for that. people are looking for realness. They're looking for raw talk, and by raw I mean honest. I find that I have really healthy engagements with people because I try to foster relationships where we talking real shit. I don't want to fluff talk with you. I don't want to sit here and listen to you drone about how amazing you are. I don't want to sit here and you tell me every fucking thing that you think I should do in life. I don't want to sit here and support your story as a supporting role. I think what's sexy about dating is when two people can exchange. There is no all about meism. It's a moment of let me talk about me. Okay, now let's talk about you. Now let's talk about us. So, let's switch it back and forth between those categories. Let's talk about them. There are things to talk about. Let's talk about it. It doesn't even have to be people. We could be discussing the things that are going on in this world. But it has to be an exchange for me personally for it to feel sexy. I know we got people out here who don't mind sitting there because they don't talk. Then you have someone that talks 100 miles a minute. And like I said, that's sexy too. But that's not for me. I get turned on by dancing with it. I like someone to give me some and I give some back. We take it and we shake it, we rock it and we pop it. You know. Um, Again, that doesn't mean I don't think those other things are proper because they are. We all have different personalities. And I'm stating what the fuck mine is, what I try to tell people. This is my personality. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with yours, which a lot of people do to each other. Oh, you're too this, you're not enough that. I've spoken on that too. I personally don't believe people are any too this, too that, not enough that. You're just compatible or you're not. We keep marring each other's characters and spreading words. I personally had someone recently spread something about me that I didn't think was fair at all. Something that they have a problem with me with, but another person doesn't have that problem. So why share it as it is a trait when it is a conflict between us. I had nothing to say about it personally because I believe people have the right to their opinion as well. This person has the right to feel that I'm too this or not enough that. But the person that was listening, I don't think quite connected to it because that person doesn't have that experience with me. That's why I speak in terms of compatibility. And I try to say, I don't have the right to judge people. It's okay if you talk 100 miles a minute. There's nothing wrong with it. You just have to find someone who wants to listen to it. There are people who want to listen to it. I dated a girl once. She had Oh my gosh, I'm talking about talking 100 miles a minute. She probably talked 300 miles a minute. She talked all day, all night, nonstop. I used to call her my radio. I told her she was my radio station. I called her W blank blank blank. I gave us her initials, which I'm not gonna call out. People like to guess too many fucking games. But at that time in my life, that was right for me. I was working remote, I was traveling around, moving and shaking, and I had a voice that I could count on pretty much day and night like a fucking radio station to talk to me. She had interesting conversation and we had fun. We phone dated. There are different types of dates as we've discussed. This woman talked all day long. So to me, it was all about her when it came to her voice. But it worked for me. A lot of that conversation, she was talking about me. And like I said, I was remote, but um, in a different type of lifestyle. The lifestyle I'm living today, that wouldn't work for me. So again, I go back to that to say we have to think about, does this work for me right now? It doesn't necessarily does it work for me for a lifetime? Do you always have to be looking for a lifetime? A lifetime can come up. I'm looking for an opportunity to have a good time, right? You know? Um, Imagine maybe short term something like that does work for you. Like I just gave you a short term example for me. I knew I wasn't going to be talking to this woman for long. I already knew after a couple of handful of conversations, more than likely we weren't going to meet. We lived, I don't know, at the time, maybe 900 miles apart. And we had decided to have conversation for 6 months. And after those 6 months, if we were still cool, we were going to meet in person. Because I said, I'm 900 miles. Hey, I was very busy at the time, and so was she. So it made sense. But during that time, we didn't make it to nine. We didn't make it to 6 months. I think it was maybe four for reasons I will not discuss to protect our identity. However, knowing it was short term, I was cool with it. It didn't bother me. But if this woman were long term, laying in my bed, talking 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, I think I would have a completely different assessment of where I would want her in my life. You know, like I said, at the time, I was out there traveling the United States, having a good time, working for companies, doing my thing. So I found myself in places. I'm always setting up in different apartments, getting staged for the work I had to do, you know. So she worked for that. I didn't need to see her, just some good conversation. So again, as I speak up often, think about yourself and what role you want someone to play in your life. Is this something you're looking for long term or short term? Is this somebody I want to? Maybe she does talk 100 miles an hour and she's amped up, but if I'm only taking her to the club, maybe she's what I need. And is this short term for me? Is this long term for me? Where do I want to place this person in my life? Is this person just serve a particular person's purpose? Or is this person someone that I want around me all the time? It makes a difference to me personally, and I would imagine to most of you what you can tolerate. What you can tolerate for 5 minutes, what you can tolerate for an hour is very different than what you can tolerate for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And okay, we'll say 17 hours a day, whatever the fuck you want to put on it. 12, we're talking living with someone, something on a daily, 4 days a week, whatever the fuck time you're spending together. It's on a heavy. It's different from that 5 minutes, that 2 hour dinner where you meet up every 3 days in the beginning. I see you twice a week. Oh, this shit getting serious. We on 2 days a week. That was serious, when you're not living together. You call that serious. So what the fuck? Now I'm living with you and you're in all about me. How am I gonna play this? Do I have to walk through the house? When I come in the door, are your drawers on the floor? Do I have to pick them up? Are you that type of all about me? Do you just drop your dishes in the sink, expecting me to clean them? Do you expect me to wash your clothes type of all about me? When you get home, do you only talk about your fucking self and your day? All about me. They're all about me that ask me questions, and as soon as I get three words out, you go, okay, and you switch it back to yourself, kind of all about me. You the type of all about me that I can't have any opinions in the house, all about me. They're all about me who does whatever the fuck you want, but when I try to do what you do and that shit don't go down the same way. Y'all gotta ask some questions on these dates, as I say all the time, so you can find out not what you're working with, but what you're fucking with. So, like I said, and I will always say to y'all on a hush, pay attention to the type of people that you're dating. To wrap this up, like I said, and I'll say again, transparency is the bottom line. Talk about these things. Ask people why you're out on a date. How would people describe your personality? Name three things about you that people say are amazing. Name two things about you that people say are annoying. Name one thing about you that makes people leave you. Did you hear that count? That's for a reason. Get people, bring them in slowly with their evil shit and let them talk about their good a little stronger. Might help to bring out, some more honesty. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be a narcissist. It's okay to be a all about me is if that's who you are. Some people live a life where they get to a point where they're like, fuck it, I've done everything for everybody. Fuck you up your ass, in your mouth, in your ears, all your orifice areas. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And they become like that. Like, no, I'm not doing favors for anyone. I've been Mother Mary. I've been Father John. I'm not doing anything for anybody because I've been hurt so much. Blah, 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 blah. Y'all get my point. So I understand some of these all about me's. But luckily, as a spiritualist, I normally can see through that shit. I'm like, I know how you got there, and it's gonna be cool with us. You could be a son of a bitch to the world, but just know that I know, and we cool. And on that note, this has been Play With It with Cass Silent. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good night.